Hey guys!
Hey guys!
We're back with another sci-fi review. This time we're reviewing the sci-fi original series, The Expanse, Season 1, Episode 5, titled Back to the Butcher. If you haven't seen it yet and you want to avoid any spoilers, you're going to want to skip this video and come back later, because everything we say from this point forward is going to be a spoiler. Okay, after last week's marathon sprint episode, this episode was kind of a catch your breath kind of an episode.
Yeah, and we needed that because last episode was like edge of your seat, high tension, like oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
And it was super fast paced and an exhausting episode.
Yeah.
And epic. And this episode really kind of let you get your bearings.
Yeah.
All throughout this episode, Miller's investigation into Julie's appearance continues, and I've seen complaints in various blogs and other reviews and things, and people seem to have this opinion that Miller's investigation, like, they need to speed it up, they need to wrap this thing up, and I have to disagree with that, actually.
Yeah, I think it's perfect.
Yeah, Miller, his investigation into Julie's disappearance is one of my favorite parts of the show, and during Miller's investigation, he's made basically a breakthrough. He's kind of figured out what Julie was doing on the scopuli. And after he makes this breakthrough, Octavia shows up. And she tells him, like, look, you need to take this upstairs because this is way over your pay grade. And at the end of the episode, he gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
So, does she maybe have some insight, or is she involved somehow, or is she just genuinely concerned about his well-being? Also in this episode, the survivors of the Canterbury, they survived the explosion of the Doniger, and they're now on this Mars Navy shuttle, and they get a message from Colonel Fred Johnson, former Colonel Fred Johnson, and he's like, hey, come over here, and I can give you refuge. And as far as they know, nobody should know they're still alive.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is, how does Fred Johnson know to contact them? How did he find them? How did he find out they survived? There's a lot of neat things going on there.
Yeah, and they don't really have a choice because they are the only survivors of two ships that were exploded, and they had just sent out the message about Mars attacking their ship. Yet they're the only survivors in a Mars shuttle. I mean, like, they don't have any choice. Like, they're screwed. If they go into port, they're going to be arrested.
And Naomi is super reluctant to go until Amos has a little conversation with her, and then she changes course and she's like, okay, fine, we can go. But Naomi has to have some kind of history with Johnson.
Yeah, and I think it's more than just the incident that she alludes to.
And finally, in this episode, we get a really great series of flashbacks in which, on Anderson Station, the miners are protesting because the conditions are so bad that their children are getting very, very sick.
Yeah, they're getting some sort of hypoxic illness because there's not enough oxygen, and so, like, it's affecting their brains. Their brains are still growing and developing, and this lack of oxygen is detrimental. Yeah.
And what's great about these flashbacks is we didn't get a whole lot of time with them. It was just like basically a series of vignettes, and it was very, very short each time. But just in that little amount of time that we got to spend with these characters, I became very invested in them.
Yeah.
In Brown and Kiri specifically, the main two, the guy who's in charge of the protest and his daughter.
Yeah.
And then when it was like watching the Titanic. We knew that the Marines were going to destroy Anderson Station. It was obvious from the get-go.
Yeah.
But then still when it happened, it was like, oh. And then when it showed them floating in space.
Yeah. Father and daughter hugging, floating in space. Oh.
And then the big reveal, Colonel Fred Johnson, was the one in charge of it. He became the butcher of Anderson Station. Yeah. And excitingly, Season 2 has already been announced. It's been renewed for Season 2, and what's awesome, and they're basically doing it the way Game of Thrones should have done it. They're halfway through the first season now. It's only 10 episodes. We're 5 episodes through. And it's nowhere close to being halfway through the first book. I'm actually reading the first book right now. I'm caught up basically to where we are in the show. Not quite there, but pretty much there. And it's nowhere near halfway through it.
Yeah, no. He just started it like last week, so like 100 pages in?
I'm a slow reader, and she never lets me forget.
No.
And that's the way Game of Thrones really should have done it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're not only caught up to the books now, they're past the books in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and they skipped over a lot of really interesting stories
Yeah.
and like sub stories that they could have done had they not, you know, done each book a season.
And it seems like the folks at SYFY have learned a lesson from that. And I don't know if James Corey, if the series is finished or if he's still writing more of these. But I'm really happy with the pacing so far.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's pretty much it for this video. If we missed anything, if there's something you think we should have mentioned that we didn't, or if we got something wrong, tell us down in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to let us know by clicking that like button and subscribe for more reviews.
And thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.